again, very good vindication for the team and that we do all the geophysics. We have our anomalies that we're targeting and the alterations and they've returned, visual mineralization in the cores.
Welcome back to the Proactive Studio. Solus Minerals CEO Mitch Thomas is with me now to discuss the company's drilling in Peru and what's happening with the TSX. Mitch, it's good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you again, Jonathan.
So let's start with Peru. There's drilling happening. Talk us through what you're seeing there and what you're doing.
Yeah, sure thing. So look, I'm in country at the moment and drilling has kicked off. And so we've actually just completed the first hole that we've cut off at about 600 meters. So look, I was on site last week for the whole week and the team have done a great job to get us to where we're at. In terms of what we're seeing, look, there's always so much anticipation because the team has put in such a great deal of work to get to where we are in terms of permitting, logistics, etc. But look, the good news is that we've encountered patches of visual chalcopyrite mineralization from around 180 meters. I'm really stressing the fact that they're patches, but what we're seeing at depth is that there are early indications consistent with a porphyry style system. So early stages, but I need to be very, very clear that, we need to let the assays kind of do the talking and it'd be, misleading to kind of say that we're sitting on a resource at this point in time. But, to hit mineralization in our first drill hole is something that we're proud of. And so what we'll do from here is look, we'll send those assays off to just to be assessed by ALS in Lima, and then we'll report the results. But again, very good vindication for the team and that we do all the geophysics. We have our anomalies that we're targeting and the alterations and they've returned, visual mineralization in the core. So yeah, very exciting.
So Mitch, what's the timeline on all of that?
Yeah, so look, we'll finish the drilling program probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Depends on a few other factors, but that's what we're probably looking like at this project, Chancho El Palo. As we complete holes, we'll be sending the core to ALS to be I guess, processed as we move along. And so we're expecting to release results before the end of July 2025.
So plenty to look forward to in the next month or so. You also you're sort of pulling away from the TSX. Can you talk us through why that move and why the refocus on ASX?
Yeah, so look, this one's been a bit of an organic move. So look, we've just seen over time, and particularly with the recent raise that we, I guess, kicked off in February, it was a two-tranche placement. We've seen our TSX shareholders representing about 8% of our book. And I guess with just the burden on a small company of the governance, the financial, the legal representation that's needed to kind of maintain that listing, it's just a little bit overweight for the proportion of shareholders that make up that jurisdiction. So, look, we've made the decision to focus as a primary listing on the ASX, and that will just mean that we're putting more, money and resources into the ground in Peru. So, feedback's been good from shareholders that we've spoken to, and so yeah, that's the direction that we're taking.
So yeah, bringing it back to Peru, it will have advantages for the ongoing work that there.
Yeah, no, exactly. Look, just a more efficient structure for what we're looking to achieve, which is, put more dollars into the ground to find a large copper project. So that's really the genesis of that decision.
So Mitch, there's plenty of other work going on as well. Can you talk us through the other programs that Solus is undertaking?
Yeah, so look, we've got 3 projects that we aim to drill this year, but the other one that's kind of been running in parallel with Chancho El Palo is Hilo Este. And so look, this project's located about 20 kilometers away from Chancho El Palo, which is pretty close. Permits have taken a little bit longer to finalize than we expected, but they are nearly complete. So everything that's needed to, I guess, get that approval is with the relevant agencies, and we're hoping for approval in the next couple of weeks. I guess, given that we are seeing visual mineralization at Chancho El Palo, the plan is to mobilize the team and diamond drill rig that we have at Chancho El Palo to Hilo Este once that first program is complete. And that will just mean that we save, time and money, just not having to recruit an additional crew. So just on Hilo Este, look, our shareholders are very well aware, but it's a very attractive target. So we've got visual copper and gold at surface, and the plan is that the actual resource is kind of out of this carved out of this mountain, so we can kind of see it at quite a large extent, which is quite unique, but again, very attractive target. So I guess with 2 projects live at the moment, we're very, I guess, confident that we can deliver on our objective, which is finding a large copper gold project. So yeah, a lot of movement in this space and lots of good news flow to come for shareholders.
Mitch, good luck with the drilling and the results to come, and we'll speak as they come out.
Yep. Thanks very much, Jonathan. See you later.